Pay attention to what happens when you apply electromagnetic frequencies to graphene oxide. Graphene oxide is a metal, and the
Okay, graphene oxide is not a metal. Graphene is an other form of graphite, a crystal form. It forms like an hexagonal shape. It's one atom thick, like a 2D structure. It's formed under different conditions as coal, as diamonds, under different pressure and temperature. But graphene itself is a thin, like plate. It doesn't have the ability to do what it's the experiment in the video does. But if you can dissolve graphene oxide in water, but it would not have the exact same reaction towards an electrical current, because and the one in the video is darker and it would be more vein-like than not like lots of beads connecting with each other. The closest experiment I could find to that results is the same as in the video is one of 1958, where they used an mineral oil that's non-conductive, is highly non-conductive oil, an ionic fluid, a fluid that is conductive and moves with electrical fields, and grass seeds. And if you put an electrical current through the solvent, you will find the same pattern as on the video.
frequencies, the pulse creates a field of information. These metal particles pick up on this information and they start creating artificial neural networks. And oddly enough, graphene oxide is in mRNA technology.
I think what you meant to say is MRI. And it's not graphene oxide used in MRI machines, but it's iron oxide that is used as a superparamagnetic nanoparticle as an contrast agent. So when you do the CT scan, and it helps giving contrast between the elements you want to scan, like with the brain or heart or lungs, whatever it might be.
You put a cell phone up to graphene oxide?
Like I said, graphene is just another form of carbon that was formed under other conditions than diamonds or coal. And graphene isn't a metal, it's carbon, and it isn't magnetic. So that wouldn't also happen. What you're seeing in that video, what's moving like that, is basically just metal shavings, like with a grinder that sparks, you get all that metal shavings. It's just a bunch of them. They put onto a table or onto a surface, and they put a magnet underneath it that they start moving around. That would cause it creating that tentacle-like structures. That's structures is formed around the magnetic flux lines, and when you move it around, obviously it will move with that flux lines as you move your magnet.
So if someone calls you and you have this graphene oxide in your body, maybe from something you took in 2021, imagine what this is doing in your body. Artificial neural networks?
There was no graphene oxide in the vaccine. And we know his vaccine is talking about COVID-19 vaccine. But this is actually a very dangerous allegation. This is very dangerous conspiracy theories. Because in 2019, there was a case of a measles outbreak in Samoa. Measles that had the vaccine for many of years now. But the cause of this outbreak was the lack of vaccinations. The people was taught by another figure from America that didn't find his, let's say, attention there to his anti-vax campaigns, So he went to the island where the instability and the trust in the government was very low already. So now he flaunders this idea of how dangerous the vaccine is and is to control them. So the people started to stop vaccinating their children because they believed they were saving their lives. Of all of these cases, there was at least 5,700 cases of measles outbreak and 83 deaths. And out of this 83, 78 was children under the age of 5. And this could have been prevented if only they took the vaccine. If that parents that thought they were saving their child just gave that child the vaccine. But it all was due to this kind of conspiracy theories about vaccines that was created by millions of dollars of investments, millions of scientists and chemists and doctors to find a cure to help humanity. Because after World War II, the last 100 years, the average life expectancy of us humans have more than doubled due to medical practices and also vaccines.
Pay attention to what happens when you apply electromagnetic frequencies to graphene oxide. Graphene oxide is a metal, and the electromagnetic frequencies, the pulse, creates a field of information. These metal particles pick up on this information and they start creating artificial neural networks. And oddly enough, graphene oxide is in mRNA technology. Could you guess what happens when you put a cell phone up to graphene oxide? So if someone calls you and you have this graphene oxide in your body, maybe from something you took in 2021, imagine what this is doing in your body. Artificial neural networks? What's that whole thing about transhumanism and people talking about us merging with machines? Well, that's what mRNA technology actually is. They created this little smart metal, tiny little piece of metal that can interact with all these other little metals and then create artificial incisions in your cellular biology. So they're changing you on a cellular level. No one wants that in their body. I don't. So this is why I am sacrificing my lungs. Us merging with machines. Well, that's what mRNA technology actually is. They created this little smart metal, tiny little piece of metal that can interact with all these other little metals and then create artificial incisions in your cellular biology. So they're changing you on a cellular level. No one wants that in their body.
This tiny metal that isn't metal he's talking about, carbon, or wouldn't be able to edit your genes, your cells, or your DNA. It wouldn't. The technology that was developed that actually can edit genes is called CRISPR or Cas9. Through a protein that can specifically cut certain parts out of DNA and replace it with an other code, basically. So this was used for cures like for sickle cell and so on. It's still studies. They did do trials on humans already, but this is not for now. It's a video for another day.
Why I am sacrificing my lungs in order to save my autonomy. That's right. Because nicotine.
This is the worst advice I ever could see. And this is just an ugly excuse for why he's smoking in purifying his body. I'm not even going to do research into this. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. There would be no proof. It's just a man desperate to convince you that smoking is good for him.